Hello, everybody. Welcome to Anime Sickos. It's the podcast for geniuses and the only podcast where we look at the four pillars of modern misery: anime, gaming, posting, and jobs. I am Tom, an anime sicko.
I am Joe, an anime sicko.
We got two new patrons to thank before we get into it. I'm going to do it real fast. First one's going to be Zach Greenham. Zach, thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
I got to try to make a joke. His last name is spelled like green ham, green eggs and ham. Not much of a joke.
All right. That's pretty good.
That's one is...
It's a good first draft.
Well, I'm not getting a second. Next one is Jeremy Aber. Thank you, Jeremy, for $5.
Thank you, Jeremy. And are these American dollars? They got eagles on them?
Jeremy's dollars are definitely American. I believe Zach's dollars are from one far-off lands. Canada, it seems like.
Thank you for your money and your smoke.
Hell yeah. Jesus Christ. I was like, maybe he means that like yo, you have smoke because we're so beloved, like because we're red hot. No.
Yeah, our time is coming, Chicago. New York had their time. I'm sure we will get our orange sky time soon.
Yeah, Joe was, when that was happening, he sent me a message just like, New York thinks they're so great. Yeah, well, we don't have any of that awful orange air. And my response was, the wind shifts extremely slightly. Oh, no.
Yes.
It's so fun. Anyway, that's all the patrons. If you want to patronize us, you can go to patreon.com/animesickos.
Folks, we put in work. We did work.
Yeah.
We have comics and manga read.
It's as close as you're ever going to get to us watching anime ever again.
Tom and I both have separate updates on stuff we have read, but we have both read, and we're going to start with talking this text, a Western comic. So these are left to right.
Yeah, it's really confusing. It's so different from, like, if you've ever read comics before, you obviously know they go right to left. So it's going to take you a while for your brain to adjust. But once you can figure it out, it's actually, Western manga is actually pretty good every once in a while.
I find the colors distracting. There's too much visual information. Also, I am colorblind, so that may be a factor.
Okay.
That said...
Because I was going to be like, I agree that most Western comics, and this is not the bit where I pretend that it's manga. I think that most Western comics would benefit from not being colored, because generally the colors, like, aren't very good.
They add visual noise and they make the motion unclear.
However, I would, for the artist that we're going to be discussing just now, I think he's one of the major exceptions to this. I think his coloring is fantastic, but then again, I'm not colorblind, so.
But okay,
I will imagine agree. There would be some type of difference there.
I will agree that he deserves to keep his crayons.
Yes, I agree. So we're talking about our fucking hero, I'll say one of the greats. We talked about him before, his incredible series Orc Stain. We're talking about James Stokoe.
We are stoked for Stokoe, folks.
So good. So I was at the comic book store, Howling Pages in Chicago, Illinois, a comic book store that does not offer floppies from Marvel or DC. They just don't stock them. It's incredible. It's like, oh my god, heaven. I don't have to write off 2/3 of the store as like...
A lot of shelf space is dedicated to what is essentially 10-page pamphlets.
It is nonsense. There was a time in my early adulthood where I bought floppy issues, and looking back on it, I'm just like, it gave me nothing but frustration. I will never do it. I will never look at it. Anywho, I saw a new trade paperback from my homie James Stokoe, and to my astonishment and delight, it was an original story. So he does a lot of licensed stuff. He did Godzilla Half Century War, which is extremely excellent. He did Alien Dead Orbit, which I did not read because I do not really care for Alien that much. It's fine. But I didn't read that one. But this one is a completely new story from his own brain, not based on anything. And it is called Orphan and the Five Beasts. I'm gonna give you my top line review right now. Run, don't walk, and read this shit. It's amazing.
Correct. The back of it calls it a kung fu story, which I guess it is.
Yeah. What it really is, did you ever play that Mega Man arcade cabinet that's just the bosses?
Yes, Mega Man Power Battles, yes.
Yeah, so that's it.
Yes, correct.
My take is that, so the sort of punchline with our Orkstein discussion last time is how it was so cool and it was such a rich world. And James Stokoe's art, especially, his writing is great, but his art is so good at making the world, the fictional world that the story takes place in, feel so real and so deep and so tactile. And it's like incredible to like live in that space reading the comic. And he sets up like this big world with so many things going on and so many plot lines, and you can tell that they're all gonna eventually coalesce and become explosive. And then they just
shit came up, I guess.
Yeah, this ain't no more. I mean, what came up is that it takes a very long time for him to draw at that level. And
everything is so detailed and gross.
Yeah, and he does all the pencils, inking, and coloring and lettering his own self. It is a one-man shop. I don't know if he has assistants, but like...
We said this last time. Does he know he doesn't have to do all of them?
Like, I don't know. The thing, I mean... In one sense, yes, it's insane to do all that yourself when you could divide that labor. But also, the fact is, he's the best at all of them. Like, he's the best at coloring. His colors are the best in the business. He's the best at lettering. His lettering's the best in the business. Obviously great at pencils.
He's good at gags. He's really good at gags. He's good at gore. When there's
good at
gore,
giant,
there's not just like a cloud of blood that makes everything like hard to read or something. No, it's in the blood. There's communication. It is clear.
Yes,
it is wonderful.
You can feel the weight of each glob. You know, like it's very weighty and real. Everything is very weighty and real. Like all of the structures. The huge mega structures, the giant, gross, globby animals that like are appliances in Flintstones fashion.
Yeah, they don't need to be really explained. It's just environmental storytelling. Hey, it's a living. Yeah. This thing is a fucked up creature, and it's in the house.
Imagine you're looking at Where's Waldo, except every page is like 7 Where's Waldos, and Waldo is the most badass fighter you've ever seen in your life, and all the guys who are around Where's Waldo are all like unique character designs of like goopy guys and freaks. Yeah. I mean, we talk about more guy per guy is like the way to determine if like a manga is really giving you the most bang for your buck. There's so much fucking stuff in every panel. It's amazing.
Correct. Just
okay.
There's spectacle, which we will go into. So I will just start just very, very basically. Orphan Mo, that's spelled M-O, end of name, is a martial artist with the spear. Cool that there's a spear user, not normally the weapon in a kung fu epic. Usually it's fists, swords, whatever. The spear is
maybe
cool.
A stick.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the spear is it's like correct in the sense that like it's wobble, like the shaft has got wobble.
Yeah. And it can be a stick, but it can also be a stabby. And so we got Orphan Mo, and you're not gonna believe this, folks. She has to fight 5 beasts. This is and I love the plot structure of this because you can very much tell that James Stokoe is like, okay, I have an art style that is extremely labor intensive. It takes me a long time to write an issue. Also, I never put Batman in my comics so that I don't have huge sales. Oopsie, that's on me. So I can't count on a huge amount of issues. Orkstein, you can really tell based on the pacing of the plot that he really expected to get more issues of that.
That's why it hurts so much.
Exactly. So you can tell that the plot structure of this is in response to the pain of having the series cut short. Now, I don't know this. There was no interview where he said this. This is all my supposition.
I agree also. Like, I believe what happened with Orkstein, he was like, okay, we're doing boss rush mode.
Yes, because what happens is Orphan Mo, her master is like, Orphan Mo, you're never going to believe this. There are 5 beasts. Ooh, I hate them. They're so bad. They trained with me, and they each developed a funny power. But then they got evil. Here are silhouettes of all 5 of them.
I love this. The master is introduced. He is sitting in a cauldron, and he's just like, Orphan Mo, things are fucked. Let me explain what happened. As you know, the most important part of fighting is the philosophy. For whatever reason, I found 5 people to teach insane techniques to, and even though they didn't care about the philosophy, I assumed that after they were done with their killing mission, they would come back for Bible study.
Yeah. Because they were like, there's a warlord who's taken over a village. You need to teach us techniques, and he's like, okay, I can teach you techniques, but there's sort of a side dish to the main thing, which is philosophy and then like Buddhism probably. And they're like, yeah, we're definitely gonna do the Buddhism, but just teach us the tech. And yeah, they didn't come back. Would you believe it? And turns out when you learn the kung fu techniques, but not the philosophy. And honestly, if you think about it, the main part is the philosophy. And you don't learn the philosophy, the techniques, the power that they contain. It causes you to become evil. A beast, you might say.
The other thing about these techniques is, like, we play video games, we've read manga, we know techniques have crazy names. Star, Dust, Breaker, Strike, Axe Death, Suplex, just stuff like that.
Toad style, tiger style.
Correct. So in this, the techniques are legs and arms. So far, those are the 2 big moves that have been shown.
Yeah, because, to be clear, Orphan Mo's teacher, her master, first and foremost, it's philosophy. It's not, the martial arts are actually sort of secondary. It's mostly about having a balanced mind. But when it actually comes to the techniques, this is a very unique fighting style in that it uses all parts of the buffalo. You use your whole body. However, not only did the 5 beasts not learn the philosophy, they were just like, you know what? I'm going to go with legs. Don't teach me any punching. I'm never going to use it. And so all these 5 beasts only know 1/5 of the style and don't know the philosophy. Orphan Mo knows the entire style and also has a balanced mind. So this is going to be a cakewalk for her, in my opinion.
Correct. And because they didn't do Bible study, they're insane now.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you know what it is like, actually? Before we recorded, you sent me a clip from an article where the CEO of Reddit, who is making the API cost like a funny number, a number that is intended to never be paid.
Which is causing this blackout.
Yeah, the Reddit blackout, a bunch of mods are turning off their subreddits in protest. There's an article where someone interviews him about, like, how come you're doing this? And he's just like, oh, I saw my buddy Elon do it with Twitter, where he, just fired everyone and made the API cost $1 trillion. And I was like, damn, it's so clear to me the benefits that's having for his company. So I gotta do it. And it's just like, these people have a CEO seat, which is to say martial arts, but they didn't learn the philosophy, which is to say being not insane.
And their peers are also insane, so they look to them and see, oh, well, Legs guy is now leader of the bandits, and what does he do? Well, he mostly spends his day riding horses and then crushing them so they explode like gore balloons with his thighs.
Yeah, he's trying to find a horse that's worthy of him. Any horse that he can explode like a water balloon full of ground meat between his legs is obviously a no good horse.
My issue with his approach is that he rides it before he pops it. So all he has to do is not squeeze, right? Like, so just ride it like how you do at the beginning.
His whole life is about squeezing. Okay, so we're moving right into it, and it really is this fast. The volume that we read is 4 issues, and there are 2 of the 5 beasts killed. Spoilers, she kills them. 2 of the 5 beasts killed in 4 issues. So the first issue, we introduce the first beast. Second issue, you kill him. Third issue, you introduce the second beast. Fourth issue, you kill him. Moving very fast. The first beast is literally named Thunder Thighs.
Yeah.
That is his name that he chooses to go by.
Yeah. They show flashbacks to him training with the master, and he's like only kicking and kneeing logs. And we see him in present tense, and like he's like a One Piece big person.
I was just about to fucking talk about the One Piece big people. This is how you can tell that this series has the juice, because it's just like sometimes guys are 20 feet tall.
Yeah.
This guy's really strong, and so his body just knew to be that big.
Yeah.
And it's like, hell yes. Mwah.
Yes. So as we mentioned earlier, the reason all these guys were taught the power of leg and arm was to kill a bandit king that was fucking everything up. So they kill the bandit king, and immediately Thunder Thighs is like, actually, I love this. I'm gonna do the bandit king thing now. And the 4 of them were like, yeah, whatever. We hate Bible study.
Yeah, we're never gonna learn the philosophy. In fact, it's lame to us. Honestly, martial arts is about techniques. Why would anything that had to do with the brain come into it? How is that going to help me to punch?
Furthermore,
it won't.
I don't think friends are important.
yes. Having friends, in fact, sucks ass. I do not care about the master. I think the master's stupid.
He is, though. That's the funny thing, is like he did just like give these insane people weapons of untold destruction and was like,
basically
it'll work out.
It's basically like he gave like primitive tribes people came to him like, there's some guy who's really fucking us up, and he's like, oh, I'll give you all a gun, be sure to practice trigger discipline though. And they're like, we're not going to talk about that. And he's like, okay, but when you shoot him, come back and I'll tell you about trigger discipline. It's exactly that. Anyway, this is we're gonna just spoil it because the fucking plot's not important. What's important is the art and actually experiencing this shit.
Saying what happens doesn't matter because we can't speak the gross spectacle into your eyes. We cannot do that.
So we think our first thought is obviously this bandit group is going to be like his minions, right? Because he is like a leader of a bandit gang. As soon as the bandits sort of are aware that Orphan Mo is against him, they're like, oh my god,
we hate this guy,
please.
He's so mean.
like we love the horses, like the horses are our friends. He's just every day with the fucking horse exploding, like we hate this shit.
Yeah, there's a stable master who's especially like, I hate it, my life sucks.
Like, can you kill Thunder Thighs? I would love it if you killed him. And so there's a fight. I'm not gonna get into the specifics because if you want to know the specifics, read it. And also, I don't remember what happens exactly,
it's
but
cool.
I do know that
we will explain the beats though.
Yeah, the big beat is that pretty early on in the fight, Orphan Mo cuts Thunder Thighs in half at the waist, and he's cut into 2 parts, and we think, he's been killed. Then, Joe, what occurs?
What happens is, in the severed pelvis sprouts like his new head, and he's like, finally, I am only legs, and I don't have all that extra baggage from bullshit other parts. It is
legitimately a skinless baby top.
Yes.
Like he is the hugest, thickest legs of all time, the thick legs of a 20-foot man, and then from a bloody stump,
there's a diglet coming out of it.
Yeah, a little dicklet with teeny little T-Rex are again a skinless baby, like a newborn.
Yeah,
and he's just like, all my life I've been dragging around the top part. Thank you for allowing me to uncover the ultimate in thigh tech, and he's way stronger.
And to his credit, like, he puts her on the ropes.
And then she kills him.
The specific thing that happens to keep with his thematic abuse of horses is that they eventually get him wrapped up and then have horses pull him in separate directions, exploding his remaining legs. And it's a just end to a guy who exploded horses.
Yeah. And then, hilariously quickly, we're on to fucking Beast. Like, I cannot stress enough how there is, like, zero filler in these fucking in this fucking series. Like, immediately, as soon as he's dead, the bandits are like, thank you for killing Thunder Thighs. We are now in your thrall. We're your minions now. Orphan Mo is like, I don't want minions. And they're like, too bad. We're hanging out with you now.
Yeah.
You're off to kill the second beast? Dope. We're coming with.
Yeah, their purpose
we're pretty
is...
hungry, though.
Yeah, exactly. Their purpose is to go to the restaurant with her and, like, hoot and holler and be like, this is the lady. She's cool.
Yeah, and the first thing they do is say, we're hungry. We hear there's a restaurant in the next town. Cut to the restaurant. Everyone there is like, we love it here, like, too much. They're like, oh, I can't wait to eat. Oh, it's so good. And some of her people start to eat the food, and they're like, oh my God, this food is so good. And I actually, fuck Orphan Mo. I don't want to go with her. I want to stay here and eat the food. And they're like, she's like, where are my people? They're eating this food. Why are they so obsessed with this? And they're like, the waiters are saying some shit that's very confusing and like spooky. And in one of my favorite panels ever, she's just like, oh my God, can we not do all this? It's people. The food's people, guys. Like, bong, 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 bong. You're all eating people.
And she's right. But what's happening is they're eating one person specifically.
Yeah. So the chef is Chopper Tang, who is one of the beasts who learned arms. And one of the powers that he has developed from knowing about arms is basically what Agni does at the beginning of Fire Punch, which is he can cut his arm off for meat, and a new one will grow back immediately. And he, in addition to being a martial artist, he's a great chef. So his human meat is the tastiest human meat in the world, and it turns anyone who eats it into his slave because they love it so much. And they'll do anything for it.
Yes, that's correct. So that he learned that from arms. That's the arms skill.
Yeah. I think the cooking he just did himself.
Yes. So he can generate arms wherever. There's a bunch of really good body horror. I told Tom that I'm a sucker for regeneration or like spontaneous limb generation in comics and stuff. To this day, I think one of the coolest examples of it is when Piccolo regrows his arm after the Raditz fight, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" That shit just rules. So one of the things Chopper Tang does is, well, he's like, I love this restaurant. Everyone loves to eat my delicious food. And then Mo is like, oh, you got to die now because you're a freak.
Yeah, correct.
So he will spontaneously generate arms. So he's like 6. He's like a Goro +2. And then he's got knives because he's got cleavers because he's a chef. So that's sort of how the fight initially sort of plays out. But basically, lots of arms getting cut off and it not mattering because, boom, immediately they're back.
Yeah, and also, I believe at one point, he sort of, like, activates his mind slaves, like, diners, this lady wants you to not have any more dinner, and they're like, fuck her! And, like, they join the fight, and she doesn't want to kill them, because they're just normal guys. It's not their fault.
A wonderful setup for a further gag. She's like, I can't hurt you guys, you're human. At which point, all of them, like, grab the bottom of their jaw, pull straight down, and reveal they are, in fact, huge millipedes.
Yeah, I remember. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true. They do that. That's so good. Also, I should mention that, like, we talked about how Stokoe's art is very good with, like, the weight and heft of gore. It feels very, like, gloppy and, like, real. One of the things that he's really good at is showing someone slicing a body part into little coins.
Oh, yes. And that's what the guy serves. He serves arm coins.
He serves fucking arm coins, and it's beautiful to see. And it's
anime
not quite
food looks so fucking good.
In Orkstain, it was specifically dicks. They would cut dicks into little dick coins, and that was That was the money. The dicks are their money. Yeah, the granch are their money. But it was a nice little callback to see him cutting off his arm into arm coins. I'm like, that was, they used to be, they did that with dicks.
He's matured.
And so the way they dispatch, the way Orphan Mode dispatches.
Before we get to the dispatch, can I talk about my favorite 2 panels of action
must.
In this volume period, is in this fight. Because it's both gross and stupid. Mo and Chopper Tang are just exchanging blows. The panel is Chopper Tang, but his neck looks super fucked up and he's sweating. And then the next panel is he generates an arm out of his mouth and punches her in the head. It's so gross.
It's so good, dude. So the way that she ends up dispatching Chopper Tang is hilarious. Again, poetic justice. I think like she like finds like a bag of flour and like throws it on the ground or something and makes a big smoke bomb and he loses her in it. And then she throws a bunch of eggs at him, knocking him off balance. And then he falls into the big oil pot. And so he's being fried as a fucking tempura. And you think, she's won. And then like his arm explodes out after like a beat of relief. After like the whoo, boom, a new arm comes out. You think, oh God, he's still alive.
Second phase.
And no, he just picks up some salt, salts himself, and goes back down to die. He's just like, I'm not done. This isn't right. I need seasoning. Mwah! Love it. Okay.
And would you believe how glad I was to have read this? And could you also believe my joy that after reading this, I went online and I was like, Orphan Mo 2.
Yes, Joe, to his credit, he went online and found Orphan and the Five Beasts number 2. Yes, it's not a repeat of Orkstein. Orkstein last time, the punchline was, there's a 1 on the volume. Where's volume 2? There never will be one. Isn't that devastating?
So I looked at that number 2, and then I looked at number 3, and I noticed, wait, these are floppies.
Yep, it was the 4 issues that are collected in Orphan and the Five Beasts, Volume 1. Folks,
Is it coming out? Will there be more?
I gave Joe this volume to read, saying this is a quick read, very action-packed, and you'll love it. Like a year ago, and he just read it, and there's still not a second volume. I did some research, and the only evidence that Orphan and the Five Beasts is still in production is in June of 2022. James Stokoe tweeted some pencil art for the upcoming issues of Orphan and the Five Beasts. And then someone replied in February of this year, is this shit canceled? What's happening? And Stokoe replies, no, I'm working on it. Just takes me a really long time. Melting face emoji. So, yeah, that was a tweet that had 50 views. It was the only way to know that this shit has not been canceled. I'm devastated. I was so sure that this was going to keep coming out in what's a timely fashion for Stokoe? I don't know. In my sort of Stokoe excitement and craze, I finally started reading Wonton Soup, which is, I believe, his first major series. I looked it up. I think he was like 21 or 22 when it came out. And all I can say about that is it sure reads like he was 21 or 22 when it came out. It is not up to Orphan and Five Beasts standard in art or story. So I didn't finish that because I didn't really like it that much. However, man, if you see a new Stokoe in the store, you gotta get it.
I think I want to check out that Godzilla shit now.
Oh, it's so good. And that's a one and done. Because like it is like it was a commissioned by fucking the company that owns Godzilla, draws a Godzilla comic. He did. It whips fucking sack, dude.
Is that the one where Godzilla goes to hell?
No, that was a mini series where every issue was a different creator. He only did one. The one he did is the Godzilla Half Century War, which the main character is like a Japanese self-defense force soldier who like was a little kid who was like a rookie when Godzilla first showed up, and then then there's 50 years of like kaiju shit happening, and he's involved somehow with all of it. And by the end, Godzilla is his hated rival, and yet he respects him in a way. There is a incredible 2-page splash panel very early on where Godzilla is sort of revealed in his full glory. And Godzilla is doing the classic Godzilla roar. If you know, you know, the iconic roar. And Stokoe does, I think, one of the smartest things that's ever been done in the history of visual art, which is he does not letter an onomatopoeia. He does not say roar or arg.
Ooh.
He just makes this weird, like, jaggedy bubble that like looks like a waveform, like nothing. It looks like noise.
It's volume. It's not words. It's volume.
Yes, and like that. No, I do not think there is a better way to visually represent what sound Godzilla makes than that. Holy shit! I love Stokoe. Anyway, Orphan of the Five Beasts. Never continuing.
Okay, so we have to anticipate what are the other parts. Like, what are the other the move sets?
Yeah, because it's all body parts and arms and legs are taken.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's fucking left?
There's definitely going to be a teeth or jaw or chomper guy. And if there isn't, that's a huge oversight.
Yeah. I feel like this series, if this was Orkstein, if like all of the characters were orcs instead of people, if this was like Orphan and the 5 orcs, one of them would be Dick Powers and would have a prehensile dick.
For sure.
I do not think that would be appropriate in with the tone that has been set up so far. I thought maybe there'd be a core person who was just like all abs and like would just do sit-ups and like crunch you between their abs, but that's just the same as Thunder Thighs, really.
It is very similar. If brain as a separate entity of mouth would be interesting.
Yo, someone learned too much of the philosophy.
Yes.
Oh shit. You have to also the philosophy is the main part, but you also have to have some martial arts techniques to balance that out. He just learned philosophy too much and now he's too smart and has psychic powers.
Here's the other thing that makes the fact that there are not additional issues so infuriating is he makes the very good, intelligent visual communication choice of whenever he shows the flashbacks of the beasts, any of them that aren't revealed look like what happens when you haven't unlocked a character in a fighting game.
Yes! They're silhouettes that, like, are generic, you know?
Yeah, correct. So when they get to Chopper Tang and there's a flashback, there are now 2 people who are not the Shadows, because you have Thunder Thighs and Chopper Tang.
Yep.
And I want to fucking know what those guys are.
I mean, we've talked about this. One of the most potent things you can do in a comic book is be like, here's 5 weird guys. They're all crazy. And like, oh man, I would love it if they each got dealt with one by one. And, like, One Piece is the king of this. One Piece is basically all this.
Yeah, because every crew is a bunch of people.
Like, yes, and, like, yeah, and also they show, like, here are the 7 warlords of the sea. Each one of them has a crew of underlings, so we're gonna go meet the warlord, but then also, like, have, like, 5 guys that are his guys, and then there's the second one, and it's like, okay, you've beaten all the warlords. Have I told you that there are also 4 emperors of the sea who are even stronger than the warlords, and you have even bigger crews than the warlords? And it's like, oh, fuck, yes, guys, like... Like, I think we're in One Piece now, like, Luffy and co haven't been, like, on screen in, like fucking 15 chapters, and like I haven't even noticed because it's just like there's just like we need to get through all the guys. Like it makes sense that Luffy's over here and all these guys are over here. Obviously Luffy's not going to show up, Fucking Christ. Anyway, so what? That's what we read together. What have you read on your own? I'm looking at the fucking title, and I can't wait to hear how it's pronounced.
I don't know. It's I'm gonna spell it first, so you will have a more generous response to my attempt to say it. It's spelled Aposimz. Aposimz.
Aposimz. Yeah, usually when Joe tries to say manga titles, I become an evil person.
This is not a mispronunciation of a Japanese syntax. This is a nonsense word, Tom.
Yeah, no, I can't do this either. Aposimz. It's fucking like when Joe told me about it, and then like I was in G-Chat a couple of days later. It's like, oh, do you want to do a episode we're talking about Orphan and the Five Beasts, and you can talk about and I just wrote APOSZSZSZSZSZ enter, because there's no way to fucking figure out how to say it. The point is, this is by Tsutomo Nihei, who is the Blame guy. He wrote Blame.
Blame. What's Blame about, Tom? I read Blame a while ago. There's not many words. It's mostly a guy that's a sniper going around a fucked up city, and
its city's big, made of pipes.
It's made a lot of pipes. He's got a motorcycle, I think, too. Maybe
no, maybe I don't know. There's definitely weird. There's weird transportation. There could be a motorcycle. I don't recall. I'm not gonna say there's no motorcycle.
So I believe this Blame guy loves two things more than anything when it comes to art, which is a main character who is spec'd for sniping, and then pipes.
Pipes.
He loves pipes. So, Aposimz.
I'm just gonna get my memory of what the pipes were about, why they were there in Blame, and then I assume you're going to tell me why the pipes are there in Aposimz. In Blame, in the far past, they made a automated society where robots would like build buildings when you asked them to. However, the mechanism by which people and robots communicated went away. So the robots are just building forever, randomly, for no purpose. So there's just a bunch of pipes around. And Blame is about walking around and looking at all these funny things that have been built.
Okay, so you having said that makes me realize there's actually three things he likes, because the third thing is in this, in Aposimz, there is a core, which is basically a bunch of pipes, autonomons, and like shit they don't, like, it's like, in the core, shit sure is crazy.
Yep. I love it. Already loving this.
Yes. Okay. So, I'm going to just start talking about the power system from the jump, because it's what's most interesting to me, and because I'm going to get to say a lot of fun words. So, in this, there's a big evil empire in the surface. I guess in the history of this planet or whatever, at one point mankind was in the core, but they left the core because they were like, what's on the surface? Whatever. So there's an evil empire. And this evil empire has soldiers that are called regular frames. And so
they're really normal.
They're super normal, dude. What is a regular frame? A regular frame is a guy who is like transformed. Basically, you take the chance to become like a cool dude with a power and an exoskeleton. You roll the dice on that, because there's a good chance you just like friggin' die in the conversion process. So this is like Speedgrapher, where the Epsteins would kiss the little girl that they had in the angel costume. Correct. The surface is desolate, snowy. It reminds me of Fire Punch in setting in many ways, and also the powers in it are, I would say, similar to Fire Punch in the sense that like every person with the power isn't unique. It's like there are lightning guys, there are gravity guys, like there are existing sort of like types, the same way Fire Punch had like regenerators and shit.
And is it like Fire Punch in that like different gravity guys are like stronger or weaker in relation to each other, but basically have the same power set, just like with the sliders moved.
For sure.
I love that.
So, important thing to realize about regular frames is that they have MP. Actually, their MP and their HP is the same goo, and it's called placenta. So,
oh hell yeah!
So what's wonderful about this, and this is the correct way to do it in a storytelling, is not to like turn to the reader and be like, placenta is this chemical that blah blah blah. No, how they do it is just like it's a bunch of people being like, fuck, I need more placenta. It rules. Yeah. It rules.
I will. Okay, so Blame was an incredible example of what you're talking about. Where there's just like he does not fucking explain the shit. There were times where I had read a chapter and I had to go and like look up a synopsis because I'm like, what happened? And I would read it and be like, that happened, and I read it again. I'm like, oh, I guess that did happen. And like the example, I say this example all the fucking time. I'm gonna say it again. There's one bit because all the characters are like non-human and they can live forever in Blame. The guy goes on an elevator, and because these robots have been building the structure for tens of thousands of years, the structure is like inconceivably large.
It's too tall.
He's on an elevator, and like there's like 3 panels of like him waiting on the elevator. But if you look at like the clock at the beginning and the end, it's like, oh, he was on the elevator for 5,000 years, like straight up. And it's like, that's so fucking funny. Like, hell yeah. God damn it. So yeah, the placenta, they never describe what that shit is, where it came from, why they call it that.
Goo. It's important goo that gives you abilities. So
fucking good.
Our main character, his name is Escrow.
Like what? Like where money is?
No, it's Ethro. In my head, I always read it as Escrow because I'm a moron. He's a sniper. Early on, he gets the opportunity to transform. He becomes a regular frame with a fucking sniper gun. Like, it is not a surprise what he becomes. It's also not really that good of a power. It's a gun, folks. So here's where the story is interesting, and it is a wonderful mechanic that needs to be in more things. He has like a group. It doesn't matter. He's got homies.
Yeah. It's Manga.
They get their hands on AMBSs, which are AMs. What are AMs? They're bullets that can shoot through anything. So this is the Farsight from Perfect Dark. They have this. And why is this so important? Well, the Emperor, his ability is that he can see into the future, and he has premonition. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing about premonition is it doesn't work after someone shoots a railgun and fucks up everything. So, like, this thing is incompatible with his ability to see into the future. And as a result, Ethro and his crew are very dangerous. There is also a faction of, like, the Church of the Core, which is... the core is filled with disease. Like, basically, the disease you can get is called frame disease. You just look like an awful skeleton. It sucks. And, in fact, the regular frames, when they transform, if you saw what they look like without their helmet, they look like horrible, dissected mummies.
That's fucking gross.
Yes, it's cool that the power system and the armor they get involves them becoming insanely mummy-like.
And you also tell me that in addition to becoming a mummy, they basically regenerate from all damage, save for headshots.
Yes, which makes Ethro really wonderful because he's a sniper. There's a very funny moment where, like, the Emperor and, like, his 4 main dudes are, like, standing on the bridge of the ship, and they know Ethro is aiming at some of them with this instant kill bullet, and they're like, what do we do? And then they refuse to move. And then what ends up happening is Ethro just shoots a regular bullet and kills one of them. Like, it's so good. They're like, that was a fucking regular bullet.
Oh my god. Okay, so can you sent me a couple of panels of a very funny moment. Can you account for the class what happens in this moment?
Yes.
There's like some samurai trying to kill Escrow.
Yeah, Escrow is being attacked by a samurai. It's not a preferable fight because our boy shoots at a distance, and the sword the guy has is made out of semi-megastructure. The only thing stronger than semi-megastructure is regular megastructure. So he's got like this super strong sword and an armor to match, and Escrow is like, my gun shoots anything, and he's like, who fucking cares? Like, you don't have any
nothing. Yeah, nothing you can shoot would work against me. So it doesn't matter what you can and can't shoot.
Yeah, and he's like, you might as well shoot flecks of snot at me. It doesn't matter. And the samurai then does like a very dramatic move to stab him in the gut, and he just
and you're glossing over a hilarious insert panel, which is just like, this samurai's most beloved thing to do is toy with the enemy in the moments between him believing he has won and striking the killing blow. And it's just like, yeah, I get it. I know. I faked up on that. Anyway, he does a samurai move.
This evil guy loves hubris. Okay, so he goes to stab him, and Escrow just like holds up his gun, so he's like a Mega Man arm, basically. So the sword gets stabbed into the Mega Man gun, and it's just like the gun shoots anything. So he just shoots him with the sword. It goes into his brain. And
it's so good.
And the panel where he dies is really good because you can tell he's like the the last thing he says before he is killed is the letter W, and it's cut off. So it's like, what?
So Blame was really good because the art was incredible. It had this very bleak and beautiful and stark style. The megastructures and whatnot that the guy walked through were really interesting. The creatures and such were fun to look at. It was, however, it was more of an art book than like a story. You know, there was a story, but it was hard to follow, and also who cares? And like they barely talk. Most of it is just walking and looking, and like, yeah, it seems to me like Aposimz, you know, same artist, so you can count on the art being good, but like actually a story and like
a really good
happening.
One. Yeah, a really good one. I mean, there are things like the Executioner Squad. We get manga shit of mini bosses. So
oh hell yeah.
You have two vectors here. You have the good art and scenes from Blame, but you also have manga slop, some shonen stuff to put in your mouth.
Hell yeah. I've got to read this then.
Yeah, it's really good. It also doesn't really look like manga. Like in the sense that like you have this very stereotypical like melty eyes that are stuff. Like this is his style is different.
Blame definitely did not look like normal manga.
Yeah.
Either. This one, I have noticed that, especially in comparison to Blame, the panels that you showed me, because Blame is so dark. It's like black and gray, and like it's really nothing is bright. It's always dark and gloomy. The panels you've shown me are like starkly white, with like maybe like a very light gray like screen print looking shading, but like it's it's the same style, but it's a very different feeling, which I think is real cool.
It is cool. It is much lighter. It's of course lighter when stuff's in the surface, but even the core, which is underground, is well lit, which is cool. That is a very cool choice because you get to see all the crazy shit he drew.
That's so dope. Is this over? Yo, I think it's done. Original run, I'm looking on Wikipedia, February 25, 2017 to August 26, 2021. Yo, that's interesting.
I must be very close to the end then. How many issues does
9 volumes. Not don't know about chapters. I'm on Wikipedia and I'm not doing any fucking further research than that. I might have to just tear through this if it's fucking finished. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to talk about some shit I read. So I read. I don't know which one I'm going to talk about because we don't have a ton of time. I mean, we have infinite time, but like, let's be reasonable. We're not going to have 2-hour episodes. I read. I finished Dead Demons Destruction by Inio Asano. That finally got its final volume printed in English, so I reread the whole thing with the ending included. Would you believe it kicked ass? And I also read Pluto by my boy Naoki Urasawa. I'm a Urasawa head big time now. Joe, which of those two should I talk to you about?
I am vaguely familiar with so let's do Pluto. I know nothing.
Yeah. We can talk about Dead Demons another day. Maybe I'll finally get you to read it. Or maybe I'll get you to read a shorter Asano. I mean, you just do an Asano episode. I'll talk to you about Pluto. So I've been a Urasawa head lately, on account of the Howling Pages in Chicago, Illinois, had all of 20th Century Boys, which is like unfucking heard of that you see all of a series at the store. It's usually like 10 copies of Volume 1, 3 copies of Volume 2, 1 copy of Volume 17. It's like incredible. Thank you very much. But they had all of it, and I was like, but that's so much. It's like $150 to buy all of the fucking manga. And this motherfucker does not allow digitized copies of his manga. It was only very recently they allowed it, and it seems like it never actually happened. Like, you would see a bunch of stories. Like, Urasawa finally allows digital copies of manga. Yay. But it's like, where are they? They're not around. Anyway, the point being, they had a fucking all manga in store 30% off sale, and so I bought all the 20th Century Boys. I became an Urasawa head. I talked about 20th Century Boys in the newsletter, but my boy Minovsky article said, if you like Urasawa, what you really got to read is Pluto. Pluto is an 8-volume series, so real short, easy to tear through, as I did. 8-volume series that is a reimagining of one of the more famous story arcs from Astro Boy, which is by Tezuka, one of the original mangas. I believe Astro Boy was like the first anime, and that like the first animated adaptation of a Japanese cartoon produced in Japan. And
Astro Boy looks like a Bob's Big Burger. I just realized.
He fucking does, dude. There's gonna be a punchline about that pretty soon. Like all fucking things Urasawa writes, it's all about how much like unfathomable nostalgia he has for being a 10-year-old boy in 1960s Japan. It is like the thing that defines everything about him. All of his work is about like, being a 10-year-old boy in 1960s Japan. That was what 20th Century Boys is all about. And while Pluto is an Astro Boy story, so it takes place in the future, it's about a story that he saw when he was 10 years old in 1960s Japan that really affected him. He was like, that story, which was, I believe, they called the Greatest Robot on Earth arc. Like, he saw it on TV and like has said in like fucking forewords for the series. Like, that story arc was when I like first realized that like I loved stories and that this was what I had to do with my life. And I believe that this had something to do with like the anniversary of Astro Boy or Tezuka. I don't know. It was a big deal, and the on the fucking cover it says like Naoki Urasawa / Osamu Tezuka. Like it's a big like the new master paying tribute to the old master. So I don't know shit about Astro Boy when I started reading this. I know that Astro Boy's a little guy who looks like Bob's Burgers. Bob's Big...
I know that there's a very good Game Boy Advance game of Astro Boy.
Treasure.
Yeah. So, is that in the story at all?
I think some of the characters are... I think Pluto is a boss in that game. I didn't get to him because I only played that game for a little bit on the Anbernic, and I was sucking major ass at it, so I kept dying. Anyway... I didn't know shit about Astro Boy. I know that he's Bob's Big Boy. I know that the big red shoes that were viral a while ago, the big red boots, he wears those all the time. That's what I know. So I don't know shit. I'm going into this completely blind. And I got to tell you, as much as I love Urasawa, I'm a huge Urasawa head. I think all the works of his I've read, I think, are masterpieces. I loved Pluto. I will say, though, I think Minovsky article said he liked Pluto the most of anything he's read of Urasawa. For me, I think I like it the least of anything I've read from Urasawa, which is not derogatory. Still incredible, still like absolute masterpiece. However, the fact that I fucking know zero about this story or Astro Boy in general really, I can tell that if I cared about this story beforehand, this would be like, oh my God, what a masterpiece. But I don't. So we start off, it's in the world and there are robots. It's in the future, robots are around. Some robots look like beep boop guys who work for the Jetsons. Some robots are totally normal and look like guys, and you can't tell them apart from people at all. And it starts off, there are 7 robots that are known across the world for being like the strongest robots around. They are just like the most incredibly advanced beings in the universe. Also important to note is that robots are unable to harm humans. It is hard-coded into their AI. They cannot harm humans.
We invented that rule.
Yeah, it's a really good rule. Honestly, I feel like it's one of the top rules when it comes to robots. And we start off the series, one of those 7 invincible hero robots, Mont Blanc, which is the robot of Switzerland, who loves to go around the Alps and protect the animals, has been killed, which is unthinkable because he's one of the strongest robots in the... this is an incredible thing. Like, there's so many times, because Urasawa is telling like a serious noir mystery thriller like he always does. But he has to keep all of this Astro Boy shit. So, like, in Astro Boy, the way that they show the power level of robots is by saying how much horsepower they have, which is absurd. It's very funny. And so, like,
what are these numbers? Tell me.
I think Astro Boy, being the hero, has 1 million horsepower. Mont Blanc doesn't have 1 million horsepower, but he has like a huge amount of horsepower. Like, he has that much horsepower and he fucking died. It's horrifying. And the world is in absolute agony because there was, prior to this series, a big robot war, which has been configured by Urasawa from how it originally was. The robot war is the fucking war in Iraq. Wow.
Saddam was a robot?
It was in the Middle East. Persia was the name of the country. The names of the countries are all a little different. The U.S. is the United States of Thracia in this, but they're the U.S.
Also, Persia is Iran.
Persia's Iran. But, I mean, Persia was the country that the war was in fucking original Astro Boy.
Yeah.
And Urasawa was just like, I'm going to make this the war in Iraq. So what's happened is Persia was being accused of developing, and they used this exact phrasing, robots of mass destruction by the United States of Thracia.
I love it.
They sent in a team, a UN team of weapons inspectors. They did not find any any robots of mass destruction, just like in real life. And yet, the war was waged anyway. And would you believe Persia was absolutely torn apart by this robot war, where robots can't kill humans, but they can kill other robots, and Persia had a robot army. It just wasn't robots of mass destruction. It was just normal robots. And it was a horrific world war that left the country totally devastated, and lots of people died sort of as collateral damage on Persia's sides. It was absolutely devastating. And all of the 7 robots who are the invincible robot heroes were in that war and have lots of trauma. Anyway, so because Mont Blanc, one of the heroes of the world, has been murdered, who by, we don't know, the greatest detective in the world, Gesicht, a German robot who works for fucking Interpol, they call it Europol, is called in to solve the case. And I don't know when they showed Pluto in the original series. Because would you believe it? There's a robot called Pluto that is the murderer.
This isn't the Popeye guy, right?
No. Pluto, like the planet.
Oh.
I think actually more to the point, like the fucking Roman name for Hades, the Lord of Hell. Pluto. There's a robot named Pluto killing everybody. It may be that in the original fucking Astro Boy manga, they showed this guy early on. In this, you don't see Pluto hardly at all till the very end. Very, very, very rarely in the beginning do you see a glimpse of Pluto. And it's very hard to describe how it's drawn in. He's drawn in a very like weirdly abstract way. Like Urasawa's art is not flashy usually. He's not like a Stokoe type where your jaw is gonna drop at just the astonishment of what you're seeing. Yeah. You can't believe it's real.
These lines took a week, clearly.
Yeah, no, like Urasawa's art, what his great skill is he's just like one of the greatest cartoonists, like that in that way that like fucking Toriyama was, where just like the way that he can like draw a cartoon face from any angle and you can tell who it is, even though there are like 50 guys in the series who have similar faces. There's absolutely no chance that you'll be able to mix them up. You can just tell exactly who it is.
That's the juice.
The fundamentals are off the charts. So you never really see like a weird abstract like horror image. But when you see glimpses of Pluto, it feels like a being from another realm because it's rendered in such an unusual way. And it, as I say, he is an incredible ratcheter up of tension. Like a lot. One thing that actually is kind of, as I read more and more of his series, is sort of like I'm getting sick of it, but I'm not sick of it yet. I'm just getting there. Is characters will not remember things. And they'll like try to remember something, and then they'll remember it right at the point when knowing that information is the most like horrifying thing. And it's like, now that I know that, oh my god, everything else is now recast in a totally more horrifying light. And I see their face in shock, and I'm like, why are they so scared? What did they remember? And it makes me fucking flip. I'm so, I need to know. And so that shit's going on here. It's fucking... I kind of lost my train of thought. Pluto! Would you believe it? These guys are getting killed. So every fucking time someone gets killed, Gesick just like, I can't believe that robot got killed. I gotta go to the other 6 robots of the world, one of whom is Astro Boy, and be like, I think some fucker's gonna try to kill you. I'm trying to solve who did it.
He had to go to the other Mega Man bosses?
Yeah. And so, this is what is very funny. I didn't know how faithful to the original this was, the manga. And what I really didn't know is, like, how are the character designs compared to the original? Because, like I said, most of these robots, I think the only robots that, in the main 7, of, like, the 7 invincible ones, that do not look like normal guys are Mont Blanc, which looks like a fucking armadillo robot, and North number 2, which just looks like a battle bot. The remaining 5 look like normal fucking guys. And I'm like, is that how they were originally? And Joe, one of the funniest experiences of my life was looking up these characters who are just fucking dudes on the Astro Boy Wikipedia. And I look them up and like, oh my god, it's a big dumpy egg. Like, they're all so silly looking robots. And I'm like, holy shit. And what's very funny is 2 of the robots, Hercules and Brando, make their living now in peacetime as like combat sports athletes. They're like professional fighters. Mm-hmm. However, when they fight, they put on what they call pancration suits.
The funniest sport.
What their pancration suits are their original designs, which is to say a big dumpy looking robot, Eggman. And what happens is like the fucking suit pulls the head off their body, like their human body, and it's like, oh, there's like wires and shit in their neck, and they put the head in the suit, and then there's like a big dumpy robot doing like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and then when it's done and they're like, they have to go home and have dinner,
they put on their business body.
It's incredible. It's so funny. I love it. Anyway, eventually what ends up occurring. I'm not going to go through all the plot because it is a very twisty plot.
It's a detective story, right?
It is a detective story. The main character, Gesicht, like the main character is not Astro Boy. Astro Boy, of course, is go ahead and say the second most important character. The main character is Gesicht, and he is a detective. So like it is a suspense thriller. What is happening? How can, and like, every time you meet a new robot hero, like Pluto's gonna fucking come kill them. You know it, but like, how can we, like, is it possible to stop? What can Gesicht learn that can make them safer? And all of them like have a sort of more or less resignation to their death. Like, I am a sinner from what I did in war, and there is a growing connection between Pluto and the war, and there is a sort of feeling that Pluto represents the sort of like karmic retribution coming to the global hegemony for what they did in the Iraq war. And there's also themes of like what does it mean for a robot to be perfect? Because like Astro Boy is the perfect robot. He's the perfect boy. And like
a perfect robot would let you do tool-assisted speed runs.
Yeah, well, I bet he could do that, but I don't think he does. One of the robots, I think the original creation that Gesicht goes to visit a number of times, is this robot that looks like a Jetsons butler who is in super prison, who was pinned to the wall with a huge lance and is all broken and can't move. The reason being is that this is the greatest robot criminal in the world and the only known robot to have killed a human. And it is Hannibal Lecter, basically. It exists to laugh at and toy with Gesicht. And one of its things is like, they did every test they could on my AI to find the problem, the glitch that allowed me to kill a human being. They never found a thing. My AI is perfect. And then like the implication is, what would it mean to make a perfect AI that exactly recreates humanity, that is a perfect robot? Well, wouldn't it mean that robot could hate and kill? And, well, Joe, isn't there a robot named Pluto that's hating and killing? I will say that, like, the ending, like, the very ending felt very, like, ass-pulley, and, like, there was, like, an extra boss that I felt like it came out of nowhere, and I was very unsatisfied with. I looked that shit up. That was in the original. That's not on Urasawa. That's just how it went.
Your boy is blameless.
Yeah, boy's blameless. I mean, if you want a, like, cyber noir mystery thriller by one of the great cartoonists of all time, and you care about Astro Boy, like, this really is. This is the home run hitter. Actually, I'm looking at the fucking Wikipedia now because I had to fucking remember the names of the characters. There's like an anime that's coming out this year.
Yeah. Astro Boy's Hanna-Barbera, right?
Fuck you. No. Oh, this is another funny thing. I was talking about the character designs, how originally they're like fucking silly looking. So I read some of the ancillary material in these volumes. Tezuka's son like oversaw this project and was like a consultant, and he has a afterword in one of the volumes where he talks about like what it took for him to agree to work with Urasawa on this and give it his blessing. And part of it was like Urasawa gave him the pitch and he was like, no, I don't think that's good. I don't think we should do this. Let my dad's work lie. We don't need to rehash it. And he's like, no, please just look at my pitch. And he gave him the pitch. And apparently in that he used the actual character designs, and the Tezuka's son was like, now you're definitely not fucking reusing my dad's design. If you're going to do this, you have to make it your own work. You're not going to make it a fucking Halloween costume. You're not going to wear my dad's story and like put on a stage play. If you want to make a new piece of work, make a new piece of work. And thus came the new designs for all the robots, which I think is very good. Because like Astro Boy, we talked about how he looks like Bob's Big Boy. In this, he looks like a fucking kid. He looks like a normal ass little kid. And it's much better for it. You can take him a lot more seriously. Like, he does have a little swoop of hair where Astro Boy does, but it looks
it's
like
shiny
how a normal
too, right? He has the no, he doesn't have the bowling ball shine.
Nope, he looks like a normal fucking kid. He looks exactly like a human being. Because, like, all the human beings in the original also look like silly eggs.
Oh, yes.
So, like,
the doctor that made him looks like... It looks like the Bullwinkle people did Dr. Light.
it was... It's definitely the Bullwinkle people. It's good. I like that it's about the Iraq War. It's a little clumsy. Fucking robots and mass destruction, dude.
The 39th Central Asian conflict.
Yep, that's it. It's so good.
39.
When you eventually do see Pluto in all of his glory, like straight up, like not obscured by anything, like you just see the whole ass robot. It looks the same as the original design, but like still badass. Like
he's not an egg.
One of those rare instances. He's not an egg. It's one of those rare instances of a reveal, a monster reveal being held back, and then you finally see the entire monster with no more teasing, and it's like, shit, that monster. Oh, like I was right to want to see this.
Yes.
What a great comic. Like I said, it's my least favorite of his. I would say I would rank him 20th Century Boys number 1, Monster number 2, Pluto number 3. I'm also reading Asadora, which is ongoing. Unclear how I'd rank that because it is in a weird place where, you know that feeling you get when you're reading a manga and you're like, I have a feeling how many chapters this is going to be. Like I know what percentage through the story I am, you know? Asadora, I have no fucking clue. I've read 6 volumes and I'm like, this could, like, it could be that, like, we haven't gotten past Act 1. Or we could be half done. I just don't know. It's like, it's very weird. I'm not going to get into it, though, because of time. I'm in Urasawa head big time, though. All this shit's so good. I recommend it big time ways.
I'm just thinking about how there's never going to be another Orphan in the 5 Beasts.
Dude, there's never going to be. I looked at Stokoe's Twitter account. Apparently what he's doing now is he's doing commission art of like established characters. Like he posted a commission that he did to draw Poison Ivy from Batman.
Please do commissioned art. Here is a full script for Orphans of the 5 Beasts. I think one of the guys should be jaw-based.
Yeah.
I'm looking, I think it's going to be about 100 pages. So yeah.
I'm not giving up hope. Because it like says in the book, I think, like, Orphan Mo will return in Over in the 5 Beasts, Volume 2. Like, I think because people got burned, at least I got fucking burned by Orkstain. Man, I'd give anything for fucking Volume 2. And 3, because you know that the 5th beast is going to be the strongest one, so it's going to have to take a double long fight. Oh my god, what if the 5th beast was the Master? The Master's been evil all along. Oh my god.
In his little pot he was cooking in when he was just giving exposition, just so fucking efficient, there was a mounted pipe so he could like rip clouds.
Yo, maybe what happens is he runs out of his vape juice and becomes evil. Maybe part of the philosophy is ripping huge clouds.
Yeah.
Yo, lungs.
Oh,
Breath control.
Absolutely.
Blowing. Someone blowing.
I didn't think of organs. Even heart could be like the Kengan Ashura thing where you can just rev up your engine.
Oh my god, that'd be so dope.
And
Fuck.
I gotta make dinner.
Yeah. That shit almost made me say, oh, can you talk about what happened in Kengan Omega? But you know what this all means? The fact that there's so much fucking manga left to still discuss means we can do another manga roundup soon.
And I'll just say shit like, oh, this guy said he's the worm, and then he said, I am the worm. It doesn't matter.
Is there... Okay, don't get too into it. Just give me a yes or no. Is the worm through yet? Are we done with that shit yet in Tengen Omega? This stupid secret society I don't care about?
Not only is the worm not done, we have learned that, in fact, the worm was a splinter of a different organization. So we are done.
Me.
Let's end this.
All right. That's all the time for Anime Sickos. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
I'm not Tom. I'm in the worm. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm Joe.
Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.